welcome to Prove All Things. We're joining you again live on a Tuesday afternoon. Uh, we'll say welcome everyone who's watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, on our website and in our app. We thank you for joining us. We encourage your comments today on those platforms. I'm joined with co-host Mike James. How you doing, Mike?
Hey Jeff, doing well. I'm not in the middle of the screen because we're going to have a guest coming on in a minute, so I'm going to leave that space there. But good to see you this morning. It's a little chilly in California, about 55 degrees or so.
Mm-hmm.
Cloudy, and we had a little rain this morning where I'm at. So again, that's unusual for California. But yeah, good to see you this morning.
Yeah, it was about 30 some degrees this morning here, so definitely cold weather is hitting us. Just we have some news that we heard this morning uh, from the family of Wayne Hendricks, that Wayne Hendricks had passed away this morning, and that's very sad news for us in the Church of God International. Wayne was one of our, I would say, premier, or I don't know, premier, are like a patriarch of the church. He was just Wayne was such a sincere leader and inspiration to all of us, in just knowing him, and then those who knew him through the messages that he gave. It was just a tremendous man who is, I guess, now awaiting to be in the kingdom of God. So it's sad, but for him, his journey's over, and he's now awaiting that reward that God has for him.
Yeah, Jeff. He was my mentor in the ministerial apprentice program. He also baptized me with Bill Watson way back in 1985. So it's some sad news. I want to send condolences to the Hendricks
Yes.
family,
Hmm.
Sandy, the
Yes.
sons, and the whole family, all the
Hmm.
relatives, Hendricks relatives back there in Elyria, Ohio. We send our condolences and love on this sad morning here.
Yeah, definitely. We send our condolences here from Atlanta too. It's just so praying for the family, praying for Sandy, knowing they love them so much, and it's a tough time. It's a time, that for to lose someone is just it's tough, but it's also, they have faith. They have faith in his faith, and he was always talking about that that those things that we look forward to. So there's a lot of hope, I think, in the family from his faith that he portrayed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He was a very faithful man. He believed the Bible, and he's ready for that change that's going to come. And also, if you want to check out some of his sermons, they're
Hmm.
still on the website,
Hmm.
always available to us. We could go back and look at them. He gave a lot of great sermons about Jesus Christ,
Hmm.
who Jesus Christ was. And
Hmm.
if you haven't heard him speak on that subject, you're in for an enlightening experience if you check out some of those sermons on the website.
Yeah, you can search by speaker on our website and also on our app, and you'll just see a lot of sermons that are there from Wayne. Right now, on the front of our website, there is a web chat with him and Bill Watson, because there was a chemistry, as far as they were able to really get together and have a conversation about biblical topics on these web chats that we have. And Wayne was such a big part of those web chats. And so there's one on Christmas that's on the front of our website right now with Wayne. So we all will definitely miss him. Uh, and trying to hold back emotions, because it's definitely a saddening thing for all of us who to lose a great man.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, it's hard to replace someone like that. Very difficult, and you can't really replace individuals, especially someone like Wayne. So we really
Yeah.
appreciate all the work he did for the church over the years, and even with his health conditions recently, he was still trying to give sermons and giving some sermons.
Yeah, I was
And
so excited that he gave a sermon at the Feast of Tabernacles. It was just
right,
like,
he was
I was like,
fighting
yeah.
to the end, and it was difficult for him.
Hmm.
He had a lung issue. It was difficult for him to breathe. He was on oxygen at
Hmm.
times,
Hmm.
yet he was still fighting till the end.
Hmm. All right. So again, prayers and condolences for the family out there. I do have a comment from Rita that I'll just read. He was a very special man. John and I always love him and Sandy. Thinking about the family. The next thing he'll know, he will see Jesus' face, and that that is it. The next thing he saw this morning, for him, time wise, in his timeline, of seeing Jesus' face. So that's definitely comforting.
Yes,
Uh,
definitely, definitely.
All right. So, well, we have a special guest today, one that I've been excited about us having on is, and I'll let you do the introductions. He's actually just
Sure.
right there with you, right just off to the corner. So you
Yeah,
can go ahead
yeah.
and introduce
So
him.
again, I'm out here in California, and we sent out some letters to see if we could get a church started here in Southern California. And one of the individuals who responded to the letter mailing campaign we did in Southern California, the first one to respond was my friend Alan Wolfkill. So I'm going to ask him to come into the seat here and sit next to me for a moment. And before I let him tell you a little bit about himself, I just want to tell you what we're trying to do here. Alan and I are in the midst of starting a CGI group here in Southern California. And we believe we can get something started in January. We have a small group of people, I'd say 10 to 12 people who are interested in this endeavor. And we're looking at some locations right now. So if you know anyone out in Southern California or anybody's watching in Southern California today, my email is right there on the screen. So please shoot me an email and we'll let you know exactly what's going on with this. But we plan to get this rolling in January, and we'll let you know more details about that. But what I'd like to do right now is just let Alan tell us a little bit about himself,
All right.
how he came into the Church of God movement, and we're going to talk about Native American misconceptions today because that is in Alan's background. Alan has a Native American background. So I'm going to let him introduce himself, tell you a little bit about how he got into the church, some bio information, and then we'll pick it up from there. So Alan, please. And Alan's a
Yeah.
tall guy. That's why I look a lot taller. You're
Yeah.
about 6'4", right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm 5'8", folks. So that's why we got this disparity.
Okay. Hey, if Alan could Alan move a little bit towards the center of the screen? Just a little bit. There we go. All right.
Okay.
Come in. You're good. Okay. So go ahead, Alan.
Well, I was thinking that telling my story, how I came to being with, I would say, the member of the body of Christ, has to go to my dad's story. Mm-hmm. So that's my segue. Back in the during the Korean Gulf period of time of warfare, with my dad had already fought in World War II.
Okay.
So he spent his whole time, even before Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, in the South Pacific and fighting those campaigns. Well, he stayed in, and he ended up being put on a minesweeper, and he did the Mediterranean for that whole period of time. While he was there, he began doing motion pictures with I think it was what they call them, Super 8 or High 8.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
And his thing was he never went with where his shipmates went because he wasn't into it, and he was just so intrigued with being in the Mediterranean and knowing that he had been at ports where a lot of the people in the Bible have been.
Okay.
So we started going to these locations. So you'd ask him where he's been in the Mediterranean. He says, it's easier to tell you where I haven't been.
Okay.
So while he was there, and he had some fantastic stories, beautiful stories of where he's been, the catacombs and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
But someone gave him a booklet, or no, it was a newsletter. It was
Okay.
from Oregon, from Herbert W.
Oh, wow. What year would this have
Oh
been?
gosh, this is trying to get my dates right, but probably about a year after he was over there, so early 50s.
Okay,
You know,
gotcha.
probably sooner than that. Like when did the Korean War begin?
Yeah, 50, around
you're right about that.
1950, yeah.
So my dad gets this newsletter, and he's telling me the story. He says, "I get this, and I know this guy is full of it because my dad has been attending Southern Baptist
Okay.
for most of his life, and was very active in one of his seaports. Actually, I think it was in Georgia, possibly, where he was talking about, and so he was totally involved with that ideology, you know, Easter Sunday,
Right,
sunrise
right.
worship, and all that. So he was reading Herbert, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to prove this guy is wrong." And I hear this story from a lot of people. The more that he researched, the more he began to see that Herbert was correct.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in 1967, and that was the same year that my dad ended his career with the Navy. He wanted to spend time with me. And so my mom was raised Catholic. All my siblings were raised Catholic. I'm one of five. They all did their communion and catechism, all that stuff. And I was always like a maverick or a rebel. When it came to that, I'd go to church and wipe off the ash and get in trouble. And, and I was always told that I was incorrigible, even by the priest. And so I would attend, and even at a very young age, I was very inquisitive. I wanted to know who all these people statues were.
Right.
And I would always be told, be quiet, mind your own business, and just be quiet, sit there and shut up. And and
yeah, I was told that by when I asked some questions to an Orthodox priest. There was a monk from Greece with him, and he said in Greek to the priest, "What's this kid asking these questions for?" So I can relate to that.
Exactly like that. They said, "Keep your mouth shut and quit asking questions." But all my questions were valid. I said, why are people kissing that man's hand? You know, and I think I was like 5.
Oh, wow.
And then I'd kind of wander around, and I'd always get into some kind of trouble because I was always inquisitive. So anyhow, my dad would be out in the driveway on his van radio, listening to Radio Church of God. And well, by then it was coming out of Pasadena. And he would tell me, "You're going to come in here, you need to be quiet and listen. And I'm going to know you're listening because when it goes off the radio, I'm going to ask you some questions." Unfortunately, that didn't last very long because my parents were divorced by the time at the end of my 6th year or beginning of my being 7 years old. And then I didn't see my dad again until probably 90, 91, probably late 90. And so anyhow, my story is that not long after my father and mom separated and went their ways, I was walking home from school one day, and there was a woman pushing a stroller with a few children and asked if I was interested in attending a group of kids. We could have cookies and punch, and my dad was opposed to cookies and punch and all that stuff. And so yeah, sure, okay. So we get there, it ends up being like a felt board, and they're teaching us who the people are of the Old Testament, and telling the stories. So that was my probably I would say the true beginning in that way of learning who these people were. And getting some answers. So now I started going to a Berean Baptist church. Like soon after that, probably 2 weeks after that, then the bus started picking me up for Sunday school. And I did that on up until the late 9th grade. Now, this story here, what made me want to leave this particular group, has 2 parts of it. One was racism, and the other one is it was time for me to leave anyway, because I had already began probably about maybe 2 years prior to leaving. really examining what's in the Bible, and
Okay.
as opposed to just hearing.
Okay.
I think it was somebody told me is and it had an impact. They said, Alan, you only know what you hear.
Uh-huh.
And after that, I started the wheels turning on, well, maybe if I start reading stuff and researching, then I really know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so from ninth grade till when did you get into the Church of God movement?
Probably right around then. And it started
Okay.
with, I gave you this story a couple weeks ago, that right about the time that I was making a decision to leave this Baptist church, I was very conflicted. And well, leading into that period, I had some poor experiences with the people that ran the church, and it was blatant, like right in my face in front of other people, and
Racism?
racism.
Okay.
You know, like there was a crowd. It was like a Boy Scout crowd, Awana. I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but you know, you learn verses and then you do it in front of people, kind of like a relay. They tag you, and then but I was never called on.
Okay.
And it was things like that on and on.
Uh-huh.
And then anyway, I ended up having these conflicting feelings and thoughts and emotions, and I went to one of the elders there, and he just got married, and I told him, I said, you know, I'm feeling some kind of way, and I don't know what it is, and I'm having sinful thoughts, and I told him that I wanted to leave. I don't like this group any longer.
Uh-huh.
I don't feel that I'm fitting in, and plus there's things that I've learned from Scripture that don't match with what I'm hearing any longer.
Uh-huh.
They're not jiving anymore.
Right.
Probably within that month that I had left, and I don't really want it to sound like I was tempting God, but I think after reading some of like how King David spoke in prayer to God, and to have him like protected or looked after, or kind of have a little bit of a retribution for some things that were going on for him, and wow, he could pray like that.
Mm-hmm.
He really was like coming from his heart and saying some things like what to do against these people that harmed him, and it happened. But my thing is that I want to know where the true church is, and I spoke like how I'm speaking to you. I said, Father, I said, if in fact there is a true church, can you please show me where it is?
Okay.
If I'm supposed to be there.
Okay.
I don't know where it is. I hear the Mormons say they're their thing, and then the Jehovah's, and on and on and on.
Okay, so what was it then? How did it happen?
Well, I got a booklet.
Okay.
I think it was something that my dad had lying around, and
Okay.
it was Herbert's book on.
So you visited your dad or something, and you
No,
saw,
no,
okay.
no.
You just,
I hadn't seen him.
so how did you find the booklet?
I think I was rummaging around in the garage, and there was some stuff of my dad's out there.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was one of his old booklets is you know, like the Saturday Sunday Witch type books, and
yeah,
and it was which is the true church.
Okay.
And so I looked at that, and I knew I was not anywhere near where I belonged.
And what year was that roughly?
That was I would say 84.
Okay.
Beginning of 84.
So you got into eventually got into Worldwide Church of God?
I didn't get in, but leading to that, I'll try to get to it a little bit quicker. But the catalyst was after I got my prayer out to the Eternal. I said that in my prayer, show me how to learn. I mean, I'm not expecting to like win the lottery of information, all of a sudden download it in me, you know. Show me what it is and how I need to go about like educating myself. And then as I told you, out of like, I have no idea where I got from. I can speculate, but I got the Pentateuch, I got the Diaglott, Septuagint, I got Nave's Study Bible, or Topical Bible. I had a box. It probably weighed about 40 pounds of stuff that was in there with no return address, just to me.
It was just sent to you.
I have no idea I want to think maybe it was my dad.
Yeah.
But I asked him about it. He said that didn't come from me. And I began using it all.
Gotcha.
So from then, I think probably the middle of 11th grade, a friend of mine who had just moved to Glendale, California, he says, "Hey, I'm going down this Brand Boulevard, and I saw that there was the Plain Truth magazine in there. That sounds very familiar." So let me see it. So I'm looking at it and go, "Hey, this is the guy that my dad used to listen to when I was a kid." And then I remember, oh, that book.
Right.
So there's the two dots I could connect.
Yeah.
Okay, so go off my time in the military. I'm still learning, but I have no fellowship whatsoever.
Right.
Except for just people talking like this, two or more gathered kind of thing, right? And then I finished my time doing the service, and then get back home. I'm with my mom, and my dad calls and said that his wife that he got married to had passed away, and he wanted me to visit him. Well, I wasn't able to. Long story short, he came down and visited, and ended up staying with me, and that was coming on to 91, or probably just after 91, because it was after the New Year. And no, forgive me, it was actually leading up to the New Year because of the Rose Parade.
Okay. Yeah.
Garner Ted was going to be at Dr. David Antian's fellowship there at the Women's Center.
Okay.
And I don't remember how I found out. It could have been my friend, Sean. And so he says, "Hey, you want to go check him out?" I go, "Well, yeah, why not?"
Okay.
Well, he never went. But since my dad was in town, I said, "Hey, Dad, remember that guy, Ted?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Do you still listen to him?" I said, "I get his stuff every once in a while, but I haven't heard them. I haven't seen them." And well, he's going to be over at a place over there with some guy named David Anshin.
Yeah. Right.
He goes, "Oh, well," I said, "You want to go?" He says, "I don't know. Come on, let's go."
Yeah.
And I also wanted to bond with my dad. We're just getting reacquainted. So we began attending regularly. My dad ended up moving from Washington to attend there with David and I. And I kind of like put it on him to, come on, let's do this as a regular.
Yeah.
You know, we are commanded to do this. So why not? What's keeping us?
So that's it then. Early 90s, you finally connect with a group, which is David Ante and CGI group. And then soon after that, of course, mid 90s, CGI kind of blows up. We won't get into all that today, but yeah, we just wanted to give people a little bit of background. And then, you know, I know you're a real studious person. I see you taking notes when we went and visited that church, that Sabbath church here a couple of weeks ago. And anything else you want to tell folks about hobbies or interests as we get into the discussion for today?
Gosh, I'm like a master of everything, and
jack of all trades with master.
Pretty much. Well, I could, some say it.
Okay.
I'm the type like say, "Hey, you sound as good as Neil Peart when you play the drums." Like, well, he's that guy. You know, I understand. So my humility.
Do you play drums?
I do. I play a kit, and I was with a Drum Corps International.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Concord Blue Devils, if anyone knows Drum Corps International. It's
I'm not familiar with it.
Rigorous,
okay. Well, I knew Neil Peart. I know who Neil Peart is, though. But anyway,
so you know.
But well, I don't know him personally. But okay. So here's where we want to go now, Alan. Tell us a little bit. So your dad was Native American.
Yes.
And so that's going to lead us into our topic for today. So give us a little bit about your Native American background, and then we'll begin to look at some of the questions and things we wanted to talk about.
Well, here's how I got to deal with that. Is neither of my parents identified. They were raised during a time where it was kind of a lot of a stigma. Okay. And trying to think of how to put it without really getting out there like a militant, you know. But during the time of the years that both my parents were young, junior high age for both of them, you know, the school influences were, you know, a lot of people were being sent to boarding schools, and so you know how difficult that was for a lot of young children, and even just to do a year was horrific. So My mom had the nuns, and my dad had the Quakers.
Okay.
And so, as long as I knew my dad, he always had a short, buzzed military cut, and I was raised that way as well. And I didn't start growing my hair until I found out that I was going to have a son. So for tradition, within the people, I wanted to give him a little bit of something that because my dad never identified.
Right.
And even though my dad wasn't around to give me any of the history and the background of my last name, the origins of it, I grew up not liking my last name. Being raised in an area where there's I have no group of people that are native, so it's almost kind of like being in a church with these ideas, and they have different ideas. Well, here I'm in a school, and everyone is different, you know. And I was always the anomaly. Hey, look at this wolf kill, and then think of 1,000 different ways that you can twist and reconfigure my name, you know, horribly and sometimes funny. So I grew up not liking my name. I remember saying, I wish it was Smith or something, you know.
Right.
So question: are you saying that the kids bullied you because of your heritage?
Yeah.
They just
most of the time, what I would get, they didn't always know my last name, but because I was dark, most of what I got was like Beaner, Wetback, and real horrible stuff like that. Go back where you come from. That's here. That's here. You know?
So they assumed you were Hispanic.
Oh,
because
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Beaner, and just constantly with that rhetoric. And but I never identified with them either.
Right.
So I was kind of
in a way, don't you think that kind of prepared you for the church and these different beliefs that
without a doubt. Because it was getting me schooled towards more of that to come, and in many different other areas. You know, because as soon as when I told my work, and I was getting paid very well, and I said I can't keep working on Friday nights and Saturday days. I'll work whatever hours you want. Other than that, they're like, oh, we gotta let you go. Right. If we did that with everyone, and he came up with some story, and this is actually the owner. I took it up to him, and no, they just let me go. That's fine. And I've been adamant about the Sabbath ever since. Every job I go to, I let them know, I inform them, regardless of what kind of pay that they're willing. And I've had some lucrative offers, but no, I'm not for sale. You know, and also with the native culture, I say the same thing too, because working in a lot of the places that I've been at in Malibu, working with inpatient, outpatient treatment facilities for people with co-occurring disorders, you know, drug abuse, substance abuse, and the gamut of things that would lead people to need to get a mental health. They really want you there on the weekend or to be on call.
Right.
You have to be there, and then finding out that I'm Native. Oh, well, we're gonna have you be like our Native American liaison to these other tribes and these people with casino money coming in there and all that stuff. And I just felt like I was for sale, you know. And then there were other people that would want me to do ceremonies for them, like Native American sweat lodge ceremonies. And you're gonna get rich, Alan. Come on, let's do this. And then that would go into an argument with them. I was, well, you don't have permission to do this. And in my mind, I'm thinking the cultural part of it, and them wanting to use me to gain access to people that I know from that environment and that community to come to their facility as like a selling point. But I wasn't buying.
Gotcha.
And I also wasn't for sale either. And these are people with like big money. You know.
So here's what we want to do. We want to look at some Native American misconceptions from the standpoint of when you get with different cultures, people with different backgrounds, sometimes when you know more about them, it's easier to discuss things and overcome differences. So I think that the Native American community, especially, there are many misconceptions out there about this community. and
Mhm.
people don't have a lot of information about this community. So that's what we want to focus on today. And I don't know if we'll get to everything today, but we'll bring you back if we don't.
Mhm.
And just to start off, Jeff, whenever you feel you want to chime in, feel free
Yeah,
to do that.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
mention. I guess a lot of people's ideas of Native Americans comes from film and television,
Exactly.
and most all that's wrong. I would imagine there's a lot or stereotypes or just not understanding, you know, the culture. Because again, you said you never identified until like later in life. When did you really like? When did you really start saying, "Hey, I'm Native American. I'm proud of it,"
That was
and
leading up to the time that I knew that I was going to have a child, and I
mhm,
wanted to, set a good example for my
mhm,
child. And I was already involved with the community. Like I was doing a lot of powwow ceremonies and being with the people, getting out
mhm,
to these cultural events and attending sweat lodge ceremonies, purification
and
mhm,
when you
ceremonies.
say powwow, like my brother's wife has Native American ancestry, and so my brother visited a powwow, and just tell folks what is a powwow, because people
yeah,
have
Yeah.
misconceptions about they hear powwow and they think something like from a movie, but what is a powwow?
Well, I don't want to disrespect any of my people by using this as an example, but the best way that I can give it to the non-native is think of a like a luau,
Okay.
and,
mhm,
and here's why. You have, and I'm not talking about like the touristy part of it, like you would
Right,
see
right.
on television,
Yeah.
because I
mhm,
have
The Brady
friends.
Bunch going to Hawaii and being at a
Exactly.
yeah,
luau.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have friends that are part of the native rights and activist groups in Hawaii, like Save Pele and things like that. So when they describe to me, and what some people are able to see when they go to Hawaii, they see kind of like a fun festival of people getting together and doing family like stuff. Well, you don't really get to see it as much as if you were non-Hawaiian, non-indigenous to the islands, and seeing how they get together and do it with themselves.
mhm,
So, but the core part of it, that what people do get to see, is there's a lot of food, there's a celebration of dance. They'll do some ceremonial stuff because they want to keep it to themselves. Like
mhm,
how I mentioned, it's not all for sale. Some of it is.
Mhm.
But now the powwow was very similar in this way, is that we do like, let's say if there's some people that have passed away of an aunt, like your friend that had passed,
Mhm.
there'd be an open chair there. They'd put a blanket and a picture there
Mhm.
with of him as a memorial. It's called an open chair. And sometimes people will put out like a blanket, and people will come and put like uh, monetary value kind of items, or maybe some money. It's going to go to the wife or whoever's surviving, and they'll sing some songs for that person. And then there's also someone who maybe had just gave birth, so they're going to give a name, or someone is adopted, like me. Hey, you're going to be my brother. I'm going to adopt you, Mike. Let's go do this formally.
Mhm.
So we do it there publicly. So people also get married at these events.
Uh-huh.
Um, so
So it's like, would you say it's like a gathering? I mean,
it is,
and is
yeah.
are they at certain times of the year? Or they could happen
Every
whenever.
weekend,
Okay,
every
gotcha.
weekend here in San Bernardino,
okay.
Riverside.
Well, I mean, to me, it sounds like a party. I guess, like
Well,
there's a party, you're dancing and having
Beginning,
fun, but community.
at night, when the drummer guys get together
Yeah,
and they go looking for girlfriends, and
yeah,
they call the party part of it the 49. I don't know exactly why it's called the 49, but yeah, some
hmm
people who's native will know exactly what I'm talking about.
okay.
But that's when they go,
okay,
they're gonna whoop it up. If they're
Okay.
in a campsite setting, the campfire's going, there's beer there, and they're singing love songs to the girls.
Okay.
Like, baby, why'd you leave me? Or,
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
stuff like that. It's a
yeah,
blast. It's a
Uh-huh.
lot of fun, and it is um, it's just something that you would love to participate in, especially if you go during the daytime and you get familiar with everything that they're doing, because there's other tribes in there that are doing their stuff as well. So sometimes Aztecs will come, other times local Tongva or the Chumash will come.
And you're talking here in Southern California. Yeah.
So it's all nations are welcome there.
Okay.
And
when you say all nations, you're talking about the different tribes within the United States.
And including you. Like when it's open drum, then you could go out there. So come on, Mike, come out there. You know, just be with me beside there, and we'll go around a couple of times.
Gotcha. You know? So let's get into this, Jeff, a little bit. The name Indian. And again, Jeff, whenever you want to interject, feel free to do that.
Yeah.
But let's start off with the word Indian, okay? And you get a lot of controversy in society today about what do we call Native Americans? Should we call them Indian? Should we call them Native Americans? So what do you say to that question?
Well, I'll say, first of all, you know, I get tired very often of people telling me, oh, we're not allowed to use that word anymore. Why? Did you ask me? Did you ask my family? Did you ask my cousins and my nieces and so on? Oh, well, we're just not allowed to say it anymore. Well, pardon me, I'm going to call myself what I would like to call myself.
Right.
And I don't need your permission.
Right. And I'm coming from Washington, D.C. over here. So there's been a controversy with the name, the Washington Redskins, over the last, 20, 30 years since I've been there. Now they finally changed that. But I can remember there was a poll that was recently conducted in the D.C. area amongst people in that area, tribes in that area, where the majority did not have an issue with the name Redskins. Now, there were people who did have an issue, okay, and they were protesting against it, but there were other Native Americans who did not. So again, issues like that, changing the name of the Cleveland Indians or the Kansas City Chiefs, how do you feel about it as a Native American, and how do people that you know who are part of your community feel about that?
People that I identify with as Native Americans, the only people that seem to care now are the youngsters, like the real young individuals that are now getting this new ideology. Everything has to be erased and taken off from what we were saying.
Okay.
Like I have 4 emails. It depends on what it is that I'm using. And one that I use for my community is Red Man Nation.
Okay.
Right. And so am I being sacrilegious or whatever to my people by using Red Man? I love it when I walk into one of my cousin's house or my uncle's place, and there's people that I know of my people. They say, "What's up, Red Man?" I go, "Hey."
Yeah.
I'm proud.
So would you have an issue if I said to you, "Hey, Red Man, how you doing?"
No, but I know you.
Yeah, okay,
and you know me now.
Yeah,
I know that I'm cool with it.
Right.
But if you're just off the street, and depending on what I'm looking at your body language, you're like, "Hey, Red Man." Right. Or, "Hey, Red Man." I'm like, "Okay, what's wrong with you? Are you a cowboy or something?"
Gotcha.
So it depends on the context, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, some people say they call it cultural misappropriation. I'm in Atlanta with the Atlanta Braves, and they have the tomahawk chop. And to me, I'm not Native American. It seems like it could be offensive because but I don't really know the origins of it, other than it's something that's been brought out as being offensive. But I don't know. So what do you think about like the tomahawk chop and stuff like that?
Ourselves, when I say amongst ourselves, let's say I'm on the reservation, and we're sitting around the drum learning some new songs. Someone, because we have senses of humor, right? We're not whatever that we're portrayed as.
Right.
That face. Yeah. And then, but we'll make up silly songs, and that's one of them. And we even have songs about Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck songs for the kids. And one of my favorites is from a drum group called Black Lodge. They said, "Ask your mom for 50 cents to watch the fat man jump the fence." Hey, yeah, right. Okay. And these are, we make CDs. So we can't be like saying, "Don't do that," unless we do it ourselves.
Right. I got you.
I don't like hypocrisy, even when it comes to that.
Gotcha. Interesting to hear that. I appreciate your honesty on that.
Yeah. And another thing I'd like to ask, just thinking about it, and this is and maybe this is probably the thing that's probably the worst, I guess, is that Native Americans are depicted as not being modern or not being, they're primitive. and it's like
Yeah.
it's like something that's to look down upon because that's a primitive culture, and they're doing things that aren't civilized and stuff like that. And that's what do you feel about when people make those assumptions?
Well, I would say, well, how primitive do you need to be to align something up in a perfect manner so that when you are watching the heavens, because whatever holy man that is designated within the clan or the tribe has been taught to look for one certain specific star that's going to
Mhm.
rise there every year the same way, and also account for the fluctuation of the wobble of the earth, and how do they know this stuff? If we in fact are so primitive, how do we
Mhm.
not have what is it? We only have mathematics, but we're dumb. We unt and
Yeah.
grunt and ugh.
Right,
When
right.
Yeah.
when we talk. No, we're and 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 it's and this is a fact. And studying different peoples in different societies, the places where there's the most abundant amount of food and resources, the culture is deep, super deep. And if you're like stuck
Mhm.
someplace like out in the Mojave, where those people are or were, their resources are very scarce.
Right.
So that most of their time and the effort and the thinking is going into survival.
Right, right.
But so it fluctuates, and you can't say one is the same for the 500 other nations.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Yeah, when you look at the Mesoamerican, like the Aztecs and the Incas and the folks down in Mexico, I
Very
mean,
much so.
there's great evidence there of highly sophisticated cultures
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that were going on. So I get what you're saying about the location and just trying to stay alive in a desert thing is going to limit
Yeah.
what you're going to do because you got to stay alive. You got to find food, which is very difficult to find. So yeah, there are definitely differences, just like in all cultures.
One
Yeah,
thing
so it's like it's not an homogenous cultures. It's different cultures. It's different nations that
absolutely.
had different traditions and different ways of doing things, and
And
trying to
depending
put
on
it all
where they
together.
were and what their specialties were. I mean, like for example, to this day, one of the best bows that has ever been known in antiquity, and that's including other cultures around the world. And there's a lot of bow cultures. One of the best
When you
bows,
say bows, what do you?
bow
Okay,
archery,
bow. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
bowmen.
Yeah.
So to this day, one of the best bows that which has ever been manufactured is from a tribe in the Yurok, Northern California, and they were making these bows so that they can be traded. And there's these bows are found in graves like on the East Coast, tribes
Hmm.
that have been over there, and they unearth how they get there,
Okay. Gotcha.
how to get there,
Yeah.
right? And this is a grave that was this like 300, 400, 500 years old type of stuff.
Gotcha.
How do you get seashell decorations on a woman's garment for her wedding when she's from a tribe that's in let's say Nebraska
So what is the
or further east?
what is the thought that these people were
We had
migrating or
trade
moving?
routes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Well, we moved where the food was. We went where, like, when it's hot, you go north. When it's cold, you go south. And the animals that you ate, like the bison primarily, because there were bison here. You don't get into that much, but people think like the plains was the only place where bison was. Bison was everywhere, and there was more than one species,
Hmm.
different sizes and at different shapes, and you can see that clearly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let me ask you, in our remaining time, we got some time left. So one thing you hear about Native Americans is the term medicine man.
Yep.
Okay, and often we in the church maybe have a negative connotation of a medicine man, thinking he's a pagan priest of some sort or something like that. Tell us a little more about what medicine man means and the distinction between medicine man and then other men within the Indian community.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at.
All right.
Well, first of all, I want to say that during the years of including being with David Antian and hearing guest speakers like Ron Dard and a bunch of others that would come and go and be our guest speakers and also go into the feast, it comes up and those heathens and our way is better because of this, and I'm not getting into specifics. That's why I'm speaking this way. But then they would say, well, then if you were like a native and you wanted some information about God, you had to rely solely for your conduit to be the medicine man, and he would tell you what your, and it bugged me when Ted would say this is, and he would, kind of make light of it, and kind of, it would bug me, because as much as he knew
Right.
on this topic, he didn't know what he was talking about.
Okay.
Quite frankly.
Mhm.
This is, oh, you have to wait and find out what this information is going to be from him, and then do what he tells you what to do. Well, I know medicine people, right? I know men and women that are medicine people. And the thing is that because I'm a skeptic across the board, right? I want to see it, not just hear it. So I watch people and their behavior and how they conduct themselves with others. And I have a relative. Actually, I have two relatives that are both medicine people, very high up. One specifically, if people want to look him up, his name is David Swallow Jr. I love the man. I would step in front of him if there's going to be gunfire, and protect him. That's how much I love this man. And when my father passed, he took me in and adopted me as his son. So he is that way to me. Now, I have been with him since I was passed to him, when my first spiritual teacher in this environment passed, which was Wallace Black Elk. Wallace Black Elk was a fantastic man. He fought in World War II as a medic, and he kept the medicine going. What I learned from Wallace is that a true medicine man knows how to heal people, not just by like doing, like rituals and stuff like that, which is the misconception, like wafting stuff or doing incantations,
right?
Doing
magic or whatever.
doing yada yada yada,
Right.
And that bugs me when people think that is how it's done, and they think that's how it is across the board.
Okay.
Well, now this particular man, including my relative David Swallow Jr. and another relative, Gerald Ice, these guys were very well-known people, and they had at times thousands of people attending their Sundance ceremonies on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And what these people would do is they would come and they want to be like pious around him. And he said, I don't want that. Well, you're a holy man. He said, I'm not. I'm just a dude. I'm just someone who's able to help you get closer to what it is for healing that you need personally.
Okay.
So people would be. It reminds me of like in the Bible. It's like, oh, I want the Holy Spirit. Well, this is what you got to do to get it. Oh, you mean I don't have to go run and do cartwheels and do some type of weird hocus pocus stuff for several days? No, I don't want it.
Okay.
So these people that are non-native, they want to get these I call them good storyteller time. Right? They want to get their vacation in, and they go there, they go back to where they're from after the vacation is up, and they got a great story. But the people who live that life stay there, and that's what I do. And I stay there for 4 months, 6 months.
And where is this, in South
Dakota, Pine Ridge, and there's different districts. It's a huge county. So I'm affiliated with people who never surrendered to the U.S. government. So descendants of Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull and those people. So they're very outspoken. They stand their ground, and when push comes to shove, they'll shove back if they need to. But the most important thing, and there's so much that I can say that wants to come out all at once. But what I learned most from my relatives that are medicine people was something that most people who are Christian professing people don't do. And the verse, better a dry morsel where love is than a feast with strife.
Yeah.
So I was in a home where there's literally about 20 family members in there. It was cold, and I was dressed like this because when I went was summertime. South Dakota gets very cold, and about 14 degrees out, and the sun was out. And I got invited in to an extended relative's house. They said, "Hey, aren't you hungry? Aren't you cold? Here's some clothing. They have nothing, and they're offering me some of like their best jeans. So these are my jeans, bro. Here, and speak to me like that. Here, put these on. I'm like, no, it's okay. No, come on. Well, why are you pouting? You don't want to take the, it's okay.
So this what's this have to do with the medicine? Yeah, go ahead.
Here. It's because the medicine man is looking at me and he's watching.
Okay.
Right. And he doesn't speak to me directly, but he's talking to the others. And he says, this is a man who in our community, I can say, like a lot of people go through life walking separately than who they are. He spoke to me like this. He says, a lot of boys go like this, but their spirit is over here. But what I noticed with you is you walk this way. And when you are with the others, you always are paying attention to what's going on around you. Now, I have been doing the same thing with him and the others. And what I noticed, but having that same outlook, being like him, without knowing that I'm being like him in that sense, people would say, "Hey, you're on the medicine path."
So so you could say that they're like a spiritual advisor in some ways.
Very much of a teacher.
Okay, teacher.
Like a clan historian.
Okay. Who have knowledge about natural homeopathic.
All the plants.
Yeah, all
what
the
to
plants.
eat for this.
Okay.
What to make tea for that.
So help us with the misconception then. Because I know we've discussed this before, where there are other figures within Native American culture who maybe would be more on the negative side of things,
The
and
people
maybe
don't
not
wanna
the
meet.
medicine man. Like,
Yeah.
so who are these people that maybe were getting these images convoluted in some way?
The people you don't want to meet and mess with or deal with in any manner, including if you're native. Most people don't care with this particular group of people with the title of Heyoka.
Heyoka. Okay.
Now, loosely, they're called the clown, but it's not. There's more to it, and I have stories with these guys.
So what does that mean? What if you could give a synopsis of a definition of Heyoka? I think we kind of got what you mean by medicine man within Native American culture, but what is Heyoka like in a short synopsis?
Well, whereas a medicine man, we're going to use that term.
Okay.
He's about healing you, helping you move forward, and the Heyoka wants to like rip you down, pull you apart, and
for what purpose? For what purpose? Like why do they are they there? What's their purpose? Where do they come from?
Mostly of what I get from them and that culture, because it is a culture.
And it's not in every Indian community then?
There could be some, but
okay.
When they usually do the ceremonies, their faces are painted up in many different manners. You go, oh, hey, that's so-and-so. Oh, really? I didn't know that was him.
Okay.
He's a Heyoka?
Why the painting of the face? What is
hide
that?
themselves to look more mysterious, or to have an appearance that you don't want to look at their face, look away because they're grotesque.
Okay.
With how they do their paints. But some are silly. Some pull off the clown side, even though that's not exactly what it is.
Okay.
Because there's a more sinister intent behind it.
Like, question. I have a question. What is Heyoka? What does that mean? What is the meaning of that word?
Truthfully, I don't know the exact straight across translation.
Okay.
And I don't think a whole lot of people that are my age would know. Also, you have to go to like some of the elders and get what it is from them, and they can give you a description, because I don't know that even people who write books on the topic that are non-native know exactly what that true straight across translation is. But it's kind of like, it's kind of like the contrary, the one who does what you should never do.
Okay.
Okay. the whatever this individual portrays himself as, don't follow in his footsteps.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, and a lot of people.
Are you saying that their portrayal is not good for the culture?
Correct.
Or is it mocking the culture, or is it exploiting the culture?
No, they're the ones who say, if you hear them say, and I've heard a couple
Yeah.
say, I'm here to show you how not to live.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is my life. I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna
Hmm.
be a jerk, mistreat people. I'm gonna be a thief. All these things that you wouldn't want as to be a part of your character. They're doing it, and they do it out in the open.
So do they
Okay.
do it just in a ceremonial way, or do they do it just in their life in general?
Well, they do it across the board, but in ceremonial
Mhm.
form, it's even more so. But they're still considered to be loosely spoken as a holy people, but they're on the opposite side of it.
Okay.
Now,
And
is this
and
something that's recent, or is this something that goes back for
oh, they
years?
go back. They go back.
Okay.
The Hilka society is very old.
Okay.
Of course I am. I'm always here
Hundreds
for
of
you
years.
whenever you need me. And I have a few.
That's Google.
Okay. Okay.
But every time that I see these guys, they're hardly
I didn't understand that.
they're hardly ever doing anything that is of
This is a good
importance.
time to have fun.
I don't like Google.
Yeah. So
Sorry about that.
that's okay. We got a few minutes left. I want to get to one other concept. We're going to bring you back to talk about because we got a lot of things we wanted to get to today that we aren't going to get to. But
But before you do that,
yeah,
was
yeah.
there anything specific that I didn't touch that you wanted to hear about on the Hayoka topic?
No. I think that
It's something I've never heard of before, so it's definitely interesting. I mean, is there a reason why maybe like someone who's not in the Native American culture would know about this? Is it just
Not
something that's
really.
kept secret, or
To some like a boutique in the southern tribes, you'll see like these little figurines where they're black and white painted people eating watermelons, and I don't know where that comes from. The history of that's like southern tribes. That's their Heyoka method. But in closing, the Heyoka is the person that where people think of as the Native American person within the spiritual community that you should avoid.
Okay.
Right. So the typical Native medicine man is holistic about healing, whereas the other one, they like to say they are, but I've never seen it.
Okay.
Sorry, I haven't, and that's to my brothers and sisters out there in the culture. I have yet to see it.
Okay. Okay, Jeff, I wanted to hit one more topic, at least for today, that people might have an interest in and misconceptions about, and that's the peace pipe. Okay, and I think you pronounce it Chanupa. Yeah. And so we see these movies where they have the peace pipe, and we think of drugs within the Indian community and things of that nature. What's in that pipe? I've heard growing up. But tell us a little more of your understanding of the peace pipe, the meaning of it, why it was used, and the fact that maybe old Indian culture is not the same as more modern Indian culture. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, the beginning of the Chinopa, the pipe, and I don't like calling it peace pipe, but you know what I'm referring to when I say that. But the pipe with the term peace pipe comes more from the eastern tribes when they were encountered during like the 1700s, and they spoke about like the hatchet and the pipe being combined.
Okay.
So
meaning what? What does that mean?
Well, when you offer tobacco and you use it in a prayer form, it's like setting something like our. If I'm gonna like have a tobacco with you, I'll offer you tobacco, and it's gonna make our sitting together formal.
Okay.
Right. So, but in the eastern tribes, when they were getting their pipes, most of the pipes that they got around that time with being made from metal, they had a pipe on one side, and the other side was a hatchet.
Okay.
So a lot of the language that was coming from the colonists when they speak to the tribes, well, you have to bury the hatchet, and then you just use the pipe side of it, so smoke.
So that's where bury the hatchet comes from.
Yeah, so we gotta use the peaceful side of it.
Oh, wow, interesting. Yeah.
So, but the plains can't really put a date on it, and I don't want to attempt to, but it was a long time ago. And the idea and the ideology and the philosophy of the pipe came from the same time as the encounter with, if anyone has ever heard this before, the white buffalo calf pipe woman. Right, so they're all.
Does this have anything to do with Ted Nugent's song, "The Great White Buffalo"?
No, I have no idea.
All right.
But there's a story of when two young men were encountered by a beautiful woman approaching them in the woods. And she disrobed. One had lustful thoughts, and he fell to a pile of ash, and the other one regarded her for being a spirit apparition, and because he had pure thoughts and didn't think of her in the way that this guy did, who fell in a pile of ash, she gave him a bundle with all this medicine in there, with direction on how to take it back to the people. And that's where the beginning. Well, I've heard now recently a couple people say that that's not how the pipe came about. I'm giving you what I was given from my teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So my teacher said that the pipe bundle, everything was inside there. So how to do the sweat lodge ceremonies and how to do other ceremonies that were pertained to that she was given him. So the pipe, pardon me, is very revered, and it's only put together during certain ceremonies. But all ceremonies with a pipe is a pipe ceremony that leads to other ceremonies or ending ceremonies. And you never put anything in there that, like people would say, that's some good stuff,
Right.
Yeah.
So what did the pipe, when you had a pipe and people smoked whatever was in there? And again, you told me that, berry root was sometimes used, osha root, mullein root would be added to tobacco and things like that. So not necessarily drugs or peyote or things like
Nothing
that.
Hallucinogenic or anything like that.
That we can talk about that. That seems to come later, you think, within Indian culture.
Much later, yeah.
So what did the pipe, when you got around and you smoked this pipe together, what was the purpose of that? Why were you doing that? Why would they do that?
Well, I have a question I'd like to just, okay, because you're talking in past tense. Is this something that's done now at the powwows, the pipes, or is it something that's just a cultural thing that was done?
It's disrespectful to break out with a chinopa at a powwow.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like showing off. A person who has the chinopa is supposed to be conducting themselves in a very respectful, humble manner. So to break out like, hey, look what I got, is a show off, and it shouldn't be out unless. I'm not saying that there has never been a time where the chinopa has been out for ceremonial purpose, for it to be used for why it's being used, for healing or a prayer purpose, or to recognize something or someone. But it isn't typical. It has it happened? I don't know. I have never seen it. And it's not to say also that it shouldn't be done and it couldn't be done. Mm-hmm. It's just it isn't something that you would be likely to see.
Okay.
Unless you're aware and someone who is a pipe carrier is going to do something with someone off the side, where no one's paying attention, because it's a personal thing, it's a private thing, and it's a serious thing as well. So you want to conduct yourself in a certain manner, to where you're not disrespecting the purpose of it and what it is also. Because each person has their own, who is in this pipe carrier society.
Okay,
I put it that way.
Okay.
So that the pipe, you mentioned the pipe carrier society. So that's just there's only certain people who have the pipes. Is it like
There,
is it
I
leadership,
would
or is it like
say
another
yes.
spiritual community?
I would say yes for this purpose because it's kind of in a way that you build yourself to get to a place within yourself, your life, your demeanor, and who you are on the inside to be a pipe carrier. Because a lot of people don't carry it because lack of better vernacular, but worthiness. You know, are they someone who can carry that? Because a pipe carrier typically is someone who's not going to put their hands on another person. They're not going to speak down to another person. They're not going to mistreat people. They're not going to be rude and obnoxious and lawbreakers and all of this stuff. They're example setters, good example, positive role model.
Right.
Hopefully, people.
Yeah, and so we don't have a lot of time today, but
Mhm.
we're definitely going to bring you back because there's a lot more we want to get to. And just for
Yeah.
those of you, Jeff, I'll let you comment in a minute, but I just want to make sure our audience understands this program is looking to expand a little bit in what we've been doing in the past. You know, typically we've been talking specifically about biblical subjects, and we will continue to do that. But we want to prove all things on this program and
Yeah.
look at other things like Native American culture for this purpose, Because when you want to, and what is our purpose as Christians? Our main goal, and Alan would agree with this, is to take that message to other people.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm getting at, Jeff, and I'll let you comment on it. If we don't understand other people, if we don't get other people, it's much more difficult for them to listen to us and what we want to tell them. So part of why we're bringing Alan on and future guests will be to better understand other people so we can have intelligent conversations with them. And then as we hear them, you know, once you hear somebody else, then it's much easier for them to hear you. So I just want to help people understand why we're branching out into some of these subjects. But Jeff, do you want to add anything to that? And then we'll let Alan kind of
Yeah.
wrap
Well,
things up.
I was just, I mean, this is very interesting to me because I've never heard these concepts before. Because, like, you know, again, you see stuff in television or you see it in a children's book, and it's nowhere accurate. It's nothing what you're saying. It's just something that's like a myth compared to, you know, the actual culture. So I guess my question, I guess, is, and, you know, we are prove all things and we are Sabbath keepers. Do you have opportunity to speak about your faith in Christ when you were interacting with the Native American community, and how is that you know how do people react to that?
Yes, I would say absolutely to that. Well, you know, even within my own people, I could be considered as an outsider big time, especially if I'm bringing what they would consider the book and the sword, and that's how the word of Christ first went across to all native cultures, and I know in my own belief, and I'm set on this, that those people who came with a book and a sword with weapons and beat down people were not representatives of the Christ that I know.
Right.
By all means.
So within the Native American community, I mean, there are these stories of, you know, what has happened in the past. And so some will have these conceptions about Christianity in a negative light, right?
So anything that's like missionary or the black robes of the north, and then you have like Jesuits and all these guys. They were awful. Most of them. They might have really good intentions, but for the most part, there were a lot of awful people, because really what they wanted to do was remove the native from the inside and then attempt to not necessarily enculturalize them, but just if you kill the native, and this is in history books, if you kill the native, you know, you can save the man.
Okay, and not what Paul's saying. Let me be all things to all people.
Right. Okay. Be open.
Yeah.
Be open to it.
Yeah.
So again, you can embrace your culture and your heritage, right, and still be a Christian. Is, you know, that you can definitely be Native American, embrace that culture and heritage, and you can be a Christian and that's
Yeah.
they're not in opposition to each other.
Like when I first spoke with you on the topic, I said there wasn't a single ceremony that I attended, not one, where I didn't have a conversation with Christ that says, look, I don't want to come up with who I'm with as ethnocentric, including within my own, and be an outsider, because if they can learn to trust me for who I am, they're going to get to know who you are for who you are.
Right. And
So-
then that's what opens up communication then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of the big questions that people would ask me is what is it that you're bringing? What is this about you? Who are you? Like, what is your spirit guide and all this stuff? Whatever they can say is,
Yeah.
you know, I said, well, it's always been Christ. Without the blood of Christ, I'm nothing, and I have no purpose of being here.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So it would
Okay.
always lead to that.
Right.
And one of my favorite stories that I like to tell is when I go back to the reservation, I say that children will come up to me and say, "Tell me more about Jacob's ladder."
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
You know, tell us more about the Pillar of Salt.
Right.
Story.
Right. Yeah.
They want to know that.
Yeah, because storytelling was common within the
Absolutely,
community.
and
Yeah.
they remember it that way.
Right. Yeah, that's what stories are so important, is because the brain actually
Very oral.
can take that stuff in better than just a straight lecture. And the Native American community is well known for that. Yeah.
And one thing that they appreciate that I can see, identify, is that my ability that I'm able to give a broader image of what it is that I'm describing, other than just reading from a book and saying, "Sit down, shut up."
Yeah,
You know?
very good, very good. So listen, we got a lot more here,
Yeah.
Jeff, we'll get to in the future. But Alan, we want to thank you for
Yeah.
joining us today. We want you back. Can you come back? Okay.
Anytime you want.
Okay, very good. We'll
I can
get you
tell I
on.
could talk.
We'll get you on the schedule. Yeah, he is a talker, folks. I've been on the phone with him, and he can talk.
Oh, we're just skimming the surface here. I mean, we're just like skipping rocks on the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
So definitely we can have you back, Alan. Again, this is very interesting. There's a lot of things, that we definitely would like to learn about this. So we'll get you scheduled. We'll see you again. And if people are out in the area in the Los Angeles, Southern California area, y'all are starting a church, right?
Yes.
Gonna start meeting soon.
It looks like January, Jeff, and I'll keep everybody informed of that on this program. But if you're out here, or you know someone out here that wants to join with us, please shoot me an email and join us out here. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to go because our time's almost up, and it will cut us off at 1:15. So we better end a little bit before that. So again, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Mike.
Pleasure meeting you, Jeff.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll see everybody next week on Prove All Things.
All right.
Okay.